can't just assume that most Americans know what happened. We have to, I would say, frame this in a way that they're learning for the first time from someone who had a front row seat to all of these witnesses.
They also think you're stupid, America, that you can't read the report for yourselves.
There's a difference between reading the book and seeing the movie, and part of the objective here is that Bob Mueller bring this thing to life.
I don't know how many times we want to see this movie again, but I think the American people have moved on past this.
Well, they're going to see it tomorrow. 2 big hearings on Capitol Hill. We'll have coverage here on Fox. A bit of a surprise today as we learned that there will be a +1 for Special Counsel Robert Mueller. That is Aaron Zebley. He is the Special Counsel's attorney, also longtime associate. He was a senior attorney on the case handling some of the sensitive issues, and he will be at the table, we're told, at the House Judiciary Committee, at least, and that has thrown Republicans into a tizzy and questions about how this is all going to go. Let's bring in our panel. Ben Domenech, publisher of The Federalist. Jeff Mason, White House correspondent for Reuters, and former CIA analyst and nationally syndicated radio host Buck Sexton. Okay, Ben, thoughts on this late edition and kind of laying out the blueprint here?
Well, I think that, to have a late edition like this is consistent with everything that we've seen along the process of the way this report has been handled publicly, which is that it has increased, I think, no one's faith in the institutions involved of an approach that is going to be responsible and that's going to stay away from being a real circus. The fact is that Mueller is going to come before the Congress and stick to, I think, mostly the report, but I can't see any situation where this is not going to end up being shaded in ways that are trying to damage the president further or to get him to try to go further than what the report said. Democrats are going to try to do that over and over again. It's just going to be a circus-like atmosphere, and it's not going to be the kind of thing that the American people deserve.
Jeff, the DOJ wrote this letter saying that Mueller should stick to the report and kind of what's in the report. There was a back and forth with Jerry Nadler, and then the Attorney General weighed in on it. Take a listen.
I think it's incredibly arrogant of the department to try to instruct him as to what to say. It's part of the ongoing cover-up by the administration to keep information away from the American people.
Bob had said that he intended to stick with the public report and not go beyond that. And in conversations with the department, his staff was reiterating that that was their position. And they asked us for guidance in writing to explain or to tell them what our position was. So we responded in writing. The department sent the guidance they had requested.
So Mueller actually requested something?
Yes.
So the cover-up by the administration was actually requested by Mueller. But either way, this looks like it's kind of going to stick to the guidelines.
Well, I mean, the truth is, Mr. Mueller said early on, before he even agreed to do any testimony, that if he were to speak to Congress, he would stick within the confines of his report. And he said that the report contained his essential testimony. It contained the statement that he and his investigators had to make and the evidence that they had to show from the 2-year investigation. So there's some back and forth about that right now, but it's completely in line with what he has said before if he stays pretty close to that report.
Democrats just want the sound bites, right? They want the report in, yes, no, is this true, is this not, down the line.
The likelihood of a major revelation here is, I think, really low. That would be the consensus going into this. But I think as much of what is not said is going to be what's focused on here. I think that there'll be moments where questions are asked and Mueller stays within the boundaries of the report and doesn't give an answer. And people try to make that into, oh, well, shouldn't he give us more information of this? And there'll be arguments as to what the boundaries of the reports are. This is all just a way of saying, yes, people are looking for sound bites for their specific narratives here. I think it'll be easy for him to deflect on what Republicans really want to know, which is likely to come out in the Inspector General report in September. Democrats really just want the reiteration of all of this, to the point that was made by the congressman before, one of the congressmen before. They just want this brought to life once again, but I think they may find that this doesn't have quite the impact that they were hoping. And also, by the way, the last time around when Mueller appeared on TV, it was not a great performance. A lot of people started to think, how involved was he really at the very top level of the biggest decisions day to day? And does he really act as the messenger for the Democrats here that they'd like him to be? I think the answer is no.
There's some serious stuff, obviously, in these 400 plus pages, and a lot of it deals with what Russia did, what they tried to do, and the reaction to it. Republicans are hoping that it backfires. Here's Rush Limbaugh today.
This is a recipe for one of the biggest backfires. Mueller can't go outside the report. He has testified to it. He has put his name on it. It is what it is. It can't be changed, and it's explicit. Charging decisions are made by the Attorney General, not the special prosecutor. It was Comey's firing that got everybody all hot to bother on obstruction. And that's what Mueller began investigating. The point is, Mueller knew there was no collusion on May 17th.
And that's one of the questions Republicans will ask. When did you know?
I think this is a situation where Mueller could have approached this in a number of different ways. He could have said, look, my report speaks for itself. You know, you've all read it. You've all had the ability to go and check out the background, information about this. I'm just going to let it stand. He also could have come to the Congress with no preconditions and said, look, I'll take any question. I'll approach this in a way that will, allow for, every little rabbit hole to be going down. Instead, we have this situation where nobody's going to be happy with the result. Democrats will wish that he was stronger against the president in all likelihood. Republicans will wish he would have been more open about various potential FISA abuse and other aspects of this investigation that they'd like to hear him talk about, and everybody's going to walk away mad at each other.
Okay, thanks for that. We'll have coverage tomorrow either way. I want to turn to the story that we led the show with, and that is the DOJ putting out this letter saying the department's review will consider the widespread concerns that consumers, businesses, entrepreneurs have expressed about search, social media, and some retail services online. An antitrust investigation that seems, Jeff, pretty wide in scope. We don't really have the confines of where this is going.
Absolutely, very wide. And it didn't specifically name any companies, but the companies that one can assume are involved are Alphabet's Google, potentially Apple, Facebook, the companies that Americans, people around the world use and rely on for social media, for communicating with each other. And they're massive, massive technology companies in this country.
This tracks with congressional efforts to look into these companies. I was anchoring Fox News Sunday for Chris last month, and I asked one of the Democrats in charge of one of these committees about it.
One of the things that I think we're very concerned about is the impact on consumers. You say they're free. The truth is the data that's collected and their attention is then used to generate revenue. So it's not really free. There have been significant reductions in privacy. There have been substantial evidence of misuse of data.
Point being, Buck, that this is the black hat now for Washington, Republicans and Democrats.
Well, this is also politics driving the way people are going to see the economics of this, or the specific definitions about monopoly and antitrust. The major companies that are at issue here had the opportunity to operate more as utilities. They did get their hands stuck in the door here doing stuff that's obviously political. They initially said, well, this isn't really happening. I think now that case is too hard for them to make, and so that's pushing a lot of people to say, well, communications are regulated across the board. I mean, I work in radio. There's all kinds of regulations there. They look at mergers. They look at what you can say. Why should these companies, especially Google, Facebook, the major ones we're talking about, be able to operate in this space where they're able to get away with a lot of stuff that other companies wouldn't? And I think that's where you're going to see the regulation come in. And I do think that conservatives feel like this is an issue of what's right now. This is finally, accountability is needed.
Quickly, this seems like the beginning of the beginning.
Yes, it does. And there is a weight right here between the pro-business attitudes that a lot of conservatives have and a lot of their skepticism about this comprehensive digital wokeness that we see driving Silicon Valley's activity in recent months.
All right, we'll follow it.